Live.
Hi,
You're
welcome
live.
to the Muslim Street. This is Hina Abdul hosting. Tonight we have a very special guest with us from Radio Watermelon. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Lance Gurr for helping produce this, and my co-host Malik Aziz as well, who isn't on tonight to host per se, but he is helping out and helping produce as well in the background. But I wanted to introduce Radio Watermelon. Tonight we have the very beautiful Rena. She's actually in Malaysia, super early for her. So I have a lot of gratitude. We also have Jimmy and we also have Benji as well. So just wanted to have you guys introduce yourselves, and I want to get straight into just learning all about your organization.
You
Rena, you can go first. Yeah, Rena can go first. Ladies first.
It's 8:30 in the morning for me, and we just came from a very long space, like 4 hours of space. I slept for 1.5 hours. But I'm Rina. I'm from Malaysia, but I live in the Maldives, and I've been doing pro-Palestinian activism for the last almost over a decade, and I met these people, these good people to start Radio Watermelon, and the rest, is history. Jimmy.
Thanks, Rena. Name is Jimmy J. I guess it's simple. I'm from America. I live in America. I am the son of immigrant parents from Ramallah, or right outside Ramallah, Palestine. I've been involved with Radio Watermelon from the get-go, and I'm just glad to be here to promote it and be with these great people that have continued to carry this initiative. All right, Benji, you're up.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Rena. So Benji here, also known as the Benjamin Netanyahu parody account on X. I guess for the purposes here, it will be Benji. That will be just fine. I wanted to quickly thank the Muslim Street team, Hina, Malik, and Lance. Thank you for organizing this space, and thank you for having us and allowing us to share, our experience and what we've been doing so far, and hopefully the future as well with Radio Watermelon. I've been involved, like Rena, like Jimmy, from the beginning of the initiative, and right now in Canada, and also of Palestinian origins, or partly of Palestinian origins as well. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. The Muslim Street is very humble to have everyone here. I want to get straight into the questions. I know we have tons and tons of stuff to go over tonight. I wanted to explain something to the Muslim Street audience before we get into this. When Malik Aziz, my co-host, and we started out doing the Muslim Street, kind of revamping it, we started out on X Spaces. And essentially, if you go to Twitter, now known as X after Elon kind of took it over, there's kind of this space per se, literal space. It's like a chat room, but it's audio. So you have people who host it, people who can speak. You can raise your hand. You can kind of engage with emojis, and then you send a link out, and a multitude of people from all over the world can listen in. So this is the platform that Radio Watermelon utilizes. I want everyone listening in, please follow Radio Watermelon on X. Please look out for any notifications whenever they do spaces. They can kind of go over the scheduling and stuff. But essentially, they bring Palestinians from Gaza on and kind of go over like all the issues, the suffering, whatever monetary needs they may have in order to get something as simple as like, a bag of flour or food. They are doing direct work over there. So, I just wanted to kind of go over the platform that they use. And then that being said, my first question for everyone was, how did everyone meet? And not just the three of you, but in general, how did everyone meet and come together to form Radio Watermelon?
I think I let Benji explain that, but we were like in a group chat before. Benji, me, and Jimmy. We were in a group chat, and then I used to host spaces like just for shits and giggles, right? I don't know. So shits and giggles. So and then Palestinian would come to my spaces, and then like whenever I host the Palestinians, and then I would change the name to Voices from Gaza, you know. So that's how the idea started, when I was hosting spaces, and then I think we all came together to like create this initiative. Benji, I'll let you explain the rest.
Thanks, Rena. Well, I think that kind of covers most of it in the sense that we individually, at least, the three of us, as well as other members of the Radio Watermelon team, I don't think we knew each other outside of X. I think I can say that for everyone in the team. So I guess if I were to share my story, and perhaps that kind of represents the others. So I had my X account. I've been well, I'm kind of maybe slightly different than others in the sense that I'm actually running a Benjamin Netanyahu parody account, whereas others might be running as themselves or running as just other pro-Palestinian accounts. But basically, we were each doing our things individually, each one on their own, and not necessarily through the Spaces functionality on X, but perhaps more through group chats. So people started creating group chats. People were invited into group chats to partake and talk and share, and share information, experiences, and so on, especially regarding stuff that's happening on X. And so basically we got added into group chats where we just got to know each other, at least the Radio Watermelon team, in those group chats. And at some point, like Rena was saying, she'd be hosting spaces. She'd be getting people from Gaza who would come up on space asking for help. We would have people there who were able to translate because most of them spoke unilingual Arabic. So from that point on, we figured, well, you know what, if we are actually to make this a regular thing and in a more structured fashion, this would be more beneficial for the people in Gaza, and that's how we kind of got structured that way. Of course, we're always in constant restructuring, and we're always looking for ways to improve and stuff like that. But yeah, the genesis of it pretty much is through group chats in X and just Rena hosting some spaces, and eventually we figured let's organize it and make it a bit more structured.
No, that's amazing. And when you guys were in these group chats and this started forming, what actually inspired the creation of Radio Watermelon?
Well, I mean, I can kind of perhaps break the ice on this one, and others can chime in. So, as you described, Hina, the functionality of spaces, it's something that's gaining more and more popularity on X, or on what's formerly known as Twitter. So, unfortunately, I would say a lot of the spaces that are held, some of them are really huge in size. Like you'll have a host and a couple of co-hosts, and they'll have their panel of speakers, and they'll have hundreds, sometimes even thousands of listeners. But a lot of them deal with the geopolitics side of things. So you're not going to hear people from Gaza on these spaces as speakers. You're not going to hear people on the terrain who are describing their daily hardships and everything that's going on, and giving you like reporting from the field as they see it, as civilians living under this genocide. A lot of it, again, was geopolitics, or they're talking about historical thing, like how did Israel come to exist? What was there 4,000 years ago? What was happening in that promised land, or that holy land? And it wasn't really, in my view at least, and I think for the most of the team in Radio Watermelon, those kinds of spaces weren't really of any benefit to the people in Gaza. I mean, you can talk about geopolitics all you want and what's going on with Hamas and the PLO and so on, but none of that really helped the people in Gaza. What helped them was people sending them aid, financial aids, because as you know, and as your listeners probably know, there's been a siege in Gaza for more than 17 years now, and that siege was, completely solidified, I guess you can say. Nothing is entering Gaza right now as we speak. So basically, yeah, and none of those other spaces that were happening on X were really beneficial, and we figured, how can we help in a more constructive way, in a way that's actually using this platform as best as we know how to, And given all that, you have to bear in mind, your listeners have to know that in all this context, of course, there's great censorship going on all these platforms, whether it's the Meta platform or, X or whatever, all the other platforms. There's a lot of censorship taking place too, right? So, unfortunately, also what would happen is you'd have people in the pro-Palestinian camp, which would have their accounts constantly, banned or suspended. You'd have people in Gaza who all they're doing is sharing their campaigns links to request donations, and they're constantly getting suspended as well. So we figured by structuring what we're doing right now, let's kind of organize ourselves. Let's have things like a simple database to track who exactly we're meeting, who we're interviewing, and let's try to be more productive, I guess, as opposed to all these other spaces that are happening on X.
No, I really appreciate you guys coming together and, for this very purpose, because I agree with you. I think a lot of the spaces that I was attending, the study groups that I was going to, even when you go to organizing protests, a lot of what people are doing is discourse, right? We're discussing the geopolitics, we're discussing the history, we're talking about theories and what should we do and what should we not do. But no one is actually directly making an impact over there, right? Because whether we agree geopolitically or not, at the end of the day, is that feeding Gazans directly? Is it helping them get medical supplies? Is it helping them, alleviate all the suffering that they're going through directly? I think, not to undermine any other organizations or movements, the discourse is important. Understanding the history is important. Reading the books is important. Meeting other people who, feel the exact same way is important. But I think a lot of people would come to me and be like, I feel so helpless. What can I do to directly help people over there? And I think that's been a huge question mark for a multitude of people. And your organization directly did that. You guys answered that question, and you guys are, putting all this time, energy, and effort to do it day in and day out. So I wanted to first and foremost commend you guys. I hope that anyone that is listening, I hope they not only follow your page, but I hope they, start to attend the spaces. I hope they donate to the cause. I hope they listen to the stories and, understand what is exactly going on over there, not through, state-sponsored media per se, but, directly from the voices from, the Gazans over there. And, that actually brings me to my next question. Approximately how many Palestinians have you guys given a platform to through these spaces from the very beginning up until now?
So, yeah, I can quickly take that one. So from the beginning up until now, and I'm not making up this number, we've had so far on our platform, on our spaces and hearing their voices, 101 people from Gaza. So it was 101 people. So yeah, we just today we cracked that, that 100 mark. So just in a nutshell, when we say 101 individuals, you have to bear in mind that, and then, Jimmy and Rena can discuss also the profile of the people that are coming on our spaces and so on. I mean, you can take the conversation wherever you want it to go, but just bear in mind, everyone, that so whenever we say an individual came on our space and they shared their story, well, behind that one person is a family. It's not just one person, right? And the people in Gaza, mashallah, they have big families, and you have one person. That's why it's sad to say, but that's why when a horrendous bombing happens by the Zionist entity, they'll take out an entire lineage when they take out 40 family members, because that's their family composition, their family structures are large. So when we say 100+ people came, we're talking about, if each person represents 7-8 members, or maybe 6 at least, you're talking about close to 600, 700 people that are behind those names that come. But yeah, so we've had whatever, a certain number of spaces, which is always increasing, and so far, yeah, we've had more than 100 people coming on our spaces.
No, thank you so much. And, to anyone that's just tuning in right now, this is The Muslim Street. We have a periodical at www.themuslimstreet.com. We also have a Facebook page. We have our X account. Please please subscribe. Wanted to reintroduce our guests for tonight. We are interviewing Radio Watermelon. You can follow them at Radio Watermelon on X, and please look out for their spaces as well. So I did actually want to kind of get into the Gazans themselves. Now that you guys have interviewed a multitude of them, heard their stories, given them a platform, verified that they are actually, you know, from Gaza, which I think is a huge necessity with all the, you know, unfortunate people trying to profit or take advantage of the suffering right now. How does your initiative differ from other initiatives and other NGOs that might be in the same genre or like space per se?
I'll
Do you wanna, Jimmy?
yeah, you want to go ahead, Rena, or you want me to take it?
You can take it, and then I'll chime in later.
So yeah, what makes ours different is that we do a few things to where we make it very organic. Kind of going back to the whole thing, this wasn't just created with the strategy of doing what we did. We came across this because we heard the cries and the screams from the Palestinians when we hosted spaces as friends. So you know, obviously, what makes us different from all of that is anybody that donates to the Radio Watermelon Initiative does not go to Radio Watermelon. It goes to that individual's GoFundMe link or PayPal or whatever link they have. So when we bring them on to our space, we have their GoFundMe links or whatever, or Fund a Hope link. And whenever somebody donates, they're donating directly to them. There is no middleman. There is no general fund. There is none of that. So what makes it so organic is when people ask us and they're asking a lot of questions, we tell them we're not in the managing the money business. We're just telling you, hey, when we platform speaker 1 through 9, you've got all of these speakers on our space and feel free to donate directly to them. So a lot of our work is basically verifying them, getting them to the space, and then obviously making sure that they have a GoFundMe link or whatever link ready to go. So when we do hear their stories, people can go directly to them as well. And again, we're just, you know, normal people with, you know, lives like, you know, everyone else out there. You know, we still have, you know, to work. We still have a family to raise. So this is something that we do organically to where we don't make money off of this. We don't take a dime from this. This all goes to the Palestinians whenever someone does donate. Rena, feel free to chime in on that as well if you like.
I do the admin side of the Radio Watermelon. So me and my team, shout out to Sister Dina and Mr. Vandal. So whenever Jimmy or Benji send people over to me to get verified, I would give them a link to a Discord server, and then that's where we do all the verification, because we do not want them to exchange numbers, especially in exchange phone numbers. So when we do the verification, and you can see the surroundings. It takes like 5 seconds for me to convince me that you're from Gaza, right? Because it's the surrounding. You can see the rubbles, you can see the tents. So I know for a
You're
fact that
like
you're from
video,
Gaza.
you're kind of like doing like a video conference with them to
I do
verify
a
that
video
they're in
conference because
Gaza.
some of them cannot speak English. So I'll get like Sister Dina or Mr. Vandal to join me in the video conference so that they can then they will give they are given as questionnaires to answer, and then and then we put them in the I'll put them in the database, right? To like, so far I think we are about 200 people that we have like in our database, 200 people. And yeah, so this is why we differ from all the other organization, because we actually do speak to the it's not actually verification, it's like pre-interview where we listen to their stories first, right? It's really harrowing, it's really horrific to see children living in tents, begging for scraps of food. Like it's gonna take a toll on you. It's difficult. So this is where we differ. We don't handle the money. It's all straight to the Palestinians.
And I actually had a question. I know a lot of people go through this when it comes to having like an account on X. You'll get a multitude of DMs, or even if you like make a tweet having to do with Palestine, people will kind of in the thread from Gaza say, "Hey, I'm from Gaza. This is my situation." They'll put like a GoFundMe link. How do we know that it has been verified by Radio Watermelon? Or let's say hypothetically, we don't know if it's verified or not. They may have not been platformed by you guys. How can we direct them to your initiative?
So that's actually pretty straightforward in that so there's a couple of things that can be done, right? So you can either contact directly, we ask our people regularly to reach out to the Radio Watermelon account on X and inquire on if such and such person has already been verified. So just reach out, send us the handle of that person, and someone will respond to you saying, yes, they have been verified. They've already appeared on our program, or they're scheduled to appear in a couple of episodes. Or no, unfortunately, we don't know enough about such and such person. We haven't had the opportunity to verify them yet. And then at which point we can reach out to that person in Gaza or who's claiming to be in Gaza and ask them if they would like to go through that pre-interview where, again, like Rena described, it will be a quick video conference. We just verify that, yes, from the looks of it, everything is there. He checks out. He is indeed living under the bombs. We can consider them verified. Another thing we started to do recently is we created a verified by Radio Watermelon seal, which we are trying to promote and apply on all the accounts that have been verified. And so the people who have been verified, they can take that pin, that image of them being verified. It's basically a seal, really, an image that we apply on their profile picture. And they can pin that tweet, that way, the moment someone visits their profile, that would be the first thing that they see. But again, the simplest way is really reaching out to the Radio Watermelon account on X, so at Radio Watermelon, and just ask us. Hina, if I may, just with regards to also how we differ from other organizations or NGOs, one big difference is, as Dean mentioned, we're not collecting any money and we're not distributing any money. We're just providing a platform where people from Gaza, they come, they share their stories. And by the way, they're very appreciative of that. We can get onto that later on. That's another benefit of our space, is allowing them to actually voice their thoughts, their experiences and all that. And that has tremendous positive value to them. But more specifically with regards to the differences with other NGOs, so because the money that our donors are sending is going directly to the people requesting the money, i.e. the Palestinians in Gaza, they will get that money and they will use that money to satisfy whatever urgency that they have. They are not held, if I want to call it, held hostage to an NGO providing to them. So for example, if you're a new mother and you have, a newborn that's 4 weeks old newborn, and obviously you still need diapers, right? But guess what? The hospitals are not giving out diapers, or the NGO that's there, whoever, the Red Crescent or the Red Cross that are there, are no longer giving out diapers. But you really need diapers, and what they're distributing is, canned beans. Well, the canned bean is not going to do you any good. You need diapers, and the only way that you're going to have money to get that diaper is unfortunately through donations done straight to your account. So it's a way of kind of empowering, if I can call it that, the Gazans there to buy whatever they need. Because often what happens is they're going to get the canned beans that's being distributed and they're going to barter that for the diaper. We just avoid all that by having money sent directly to the people which have their specific needs. Well, they're going to meet or satisfy their specific needs themselves. They don't have to rely on, they still have to rely on NGOs for other things, of course, but in this case, at least they're able to be more self-sufficient.
No, that's amazing. And this actually brings me to my next question. So now that you've platformed about 101 individuals, and these people are representing families, right, and lineages. So this is representing like a multitude of people. But you've had at least 101 minimum Gazans that have spoken on these X spaces that you guys hold. What are the biggest challenges that they are facing right now? Because I know we're getting different stories from different essentially state-sponsored media. We're reading things on X, but you guys are talking to these individuals directly. So what have you kind of learned by interviewing all these individuals?
Can I say something?
Of course.
Before I answer that, I just want to shout out to all our supporters, all our followers, and also to Nader, who did all our graphics, to Lacey, who sometimes hosts the space. So I need to give a shout out to them. Also, the main challenges is the inflation of prices, right? The prices. That's the main finding shelters. That I don't know how to say it. English is my second language. What is it? Tarpaulin? Tarpaulin? Is that the tent, the material to
Tarpaulin, yeah. So tarp,
tarpaulin?
basically tarp,
Yeah,
the nylon
yeah.
that they used to.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Gaza is like 85% decimated, right? Everywhere is like so you're living in rubbles. So the main challenges is the prices of the groceries, right? If I'm not mistaken, like 1 kilo of flour, I can't remember the prices because Nadia did the infographics for that, like the inflation of the prices. Yeah, and then finding safe shelters. That's the main concern, and the medicine.
Does anyone know, like, let's say hypothetically, someone from Gaza comes on and says, hey, like, we need one bag of flour. We haven't ate in several days. How much would that cost for, like, let's say I wanted to donate as a donor directly to their GoFundMe. How much would I have to donate for them to be able to get that bag of flour? Just, an approximate. I know it changes probably often.
Yeah, so you're right. The prices vary from the geographical area. So you have the north, which is completely cut off from the center and the south. The prices in the north are incredibly, just completely exaggerated compared to the rest. And the rest is also incredibly exaggerated. So a bag of flour, as we spoke to people today, which were more in central Gaza, and they quoted in US dollars. So a bag of flour is 25 kilos. All right. So we're talking about, like, what is it, 60 pounds or something, roughly? About 60 pounds bag of flour, 25 kilos. It's $320. We got a quote of 300 and another of 320. But that's in the central. In the north, it's almost reaching $1,000, I think, for a bag of flour. So yeah, again, this is just 25 kilos of flour, let's say average price in the center, $320. To give you another idea, several months ago already, we spoke to an individual who was, they were renting a lot of small plots of land on which they put on a tent. So that land wasn't theirs, they had to pay a landlord. Even in these circumstances, there's landlords, chasing after tenants, requesting rent. So that land had nothing, right? It's just a small, vacant, empty land, but it belonged to someone. It was a piece of land which was 3 meters by 3 meters, okay, on which this person set up a tent for, their small family. They were paying that land $300 per month, and there was nothing there, right? You're just sitting in a tent on this other person's land, and you're paying $300 for 3 meters by 3 meters. The prices are, I think, by far the most expensive prices. The cost of living is the highest in the world right now. It has to be. I'm sure it is. It's like well beyond, the most expensive areas of London or New York or Shanghai or Hong Kong. It's just completely outrageous prices right now. Things like a kilo of tomatoes would be $100 for a kilo of tomatoes. Potatoes, I think, a bit less. If this is in the north, in the south, the kilo of tomatoes, I think, is $15 or $20 for a kilo of tomatoes.
Wow.
So yeah. So
Yeah,
the truth is, like, no matter how much we can get people to donate, Hina, it just, as Rena mentioned, everything's 80% demolished or even more. So everything needs to be rebuilt, reconstructed, and it's like we cannot get enough donors, enough aid, but we have to continue trying because otherwise these people have nothing coming into them.
No, absolutely. I mean, it breaks my heart to hear that. And even if hypothetically, let's say, I don't know, like San Francisco or something is more expensive than, this area, you have to understand that in Gaza, a lot of people are not working. They're not getting income. If they are, it's significantly less than you would even find in these cities, right? So it's a very, very dire situation. That's why I really want to urge everyone watching, this is the Muslim Street. I would really encourage everyone to donate, to follow these stories, to follow at Radio Watermelon on X. Shout out to everyone that's collaborating and helping and doing what they can within this organization. But when you donate, even if it's, you know what I mean, like $10, $20, whatever you can afford, it could literally save someone's life, with everything going on over there. And, I also wanted to ask Jimmy and Benji, what kind of experiences are these Gazans going through based on like what, you guys have heard, what you guys have interviewed, what stories you're kind of coming across as well? Because I'm sure all three of you are coming across, different individuals and stories.
Yeah, many times Benji and I are the ones overseeing all the messages that are coming into Radio Watermelon. So
Mhm.
a lot of times we're having to read through it all, and it's you gotta have some thick skin to read through this stuff. But many times there's stories as someone's lost their father or their mother or sometimes both, and they're just trying to navigate through this horrific genocide, and anything can help because they're cold. We're in the winter time, so that it's extremely cold being inside their tents if they do have a tent. Many times they haven't eaten in days, or if they did, it's maybe just a little bit like a soup type dish, shorba they call it. It just depends. I mean, one of the stories we have is we've got a 14-year-old kid who is trying to raise his family, and he's just desperately needing help, and he's constantly coming on our space. He's coming on other spaces that I'm on that are not even connected to Radio Watermelon, and listening to his story. And you can tell in his voice that he's just pleading for help. And it's beyond sad. It's depressing, but we do what we can. We do what we can to help. And even with the Radio Watermelon initiative, it's actually extended his reach, because now he's been verified with Radio Watermelon. He goes into other spaces, and people ask us, Benji, or anybody else from the Radio Watermelon team, like, has this person been verified? And we say, yes, they have. And they listen to his story and help to not be sad either. And they want to help as well. So those are just some of the few things that I come across on the messaging, but there's quite a few. It's all over the place between people starving and just being cold right now in the winter time more than anything. You can add to that, Benji, too, if I missed anything.
Well, no, I mean, you didn't miss anything. We can talk about these things for hours, really. Hina, there's also the reality kind of hits you directly when you are on these audio spaces with the people from Gaza, and you hear the buzzing of the quadcopters or the drones flying above them. Like, the guy is just having a conversation with us, and we hear this constant buzzing. And everyone knows by now, 14 months into this ordeal, if I can call it an ordeal, people know, oh crap, there's a quadcopter or there's a drone buzzing overhead. And often even what will happen is, like, you'll hear that damn drone flying above this poor Gazan, and his connection will drop. So you know that they're interfering with their signals. They're basically trying to cut them out from the rest of the world. We can get into things like we mentioned briefly the censorship that the pro-Palestinians, whether they're in Gaza or outside, are experiencing on various social media. But the constant surveillance, the constant displacements that the Gazans have to go through. We've heard stories just today where people were displaced 17 times in 14 months. They've been displaced 17 times. And you have to bear in mind that with every displacement, it's not like they have all the time in the world to pack all their stuff and take their tents with them, and they're packing everything nicely in a car as if they're going on a camping trip. They're basically chased out of whatever encampment they're in, and again, drones, the tanks waiting a few meters away from them, just basically waiting for them to do a false step just to have any excuse to fire at them. And as well, when you're trekking from one encampment to the next because you're forced out, you have things like snipers standing on rooftops of buildings just sniping randomly because they can. So these people even will walk for miles just to have a proper internet connection to be able to get on Radio Watermelon. So that's how desperate they are. Yeah, and Rena can share, the horrific things that she sees when she's doing various video verifications or video interviews with them. But Jimmy mentioned children. There's of course people losing limbs, losing
Yeah. Oh my God. I cried every single time I do all this verification. I cried every single, especially when it's involving children. And can I add one more thing? I forgot
Of
to
course.
mention the most difficult thing about this thing is like when GoFundMe or PayPal just cancel campaigns, cancel campaigns, and then just like without any good explanation whatsoever, they just canceled it because it's Palestinian. So that is
Wow.
one of the other things that Palestinians are facing. It's the not just censorship, not just the bombardment, but it's also the these companies like not allowing money to go in, and it's really difficult. I sometimes I don't know how to even do this, but somebody have to do this. But I think Benji, we all found another site that they can use, that they can open independently. I think Benji can explain
Yeah,
that better.
we know there's fundsahope.com. So if anyone out there, is coming face to face with a Palestinian in Gaza who doesn't know how to create their own campaign, because sites like the biggest ones will require, the biggest sites will prevent people in Palestine from creating their own campaigns. So they have to rely on someone outside of Palestine to actually create a campaign. And
Wow.
sometimes, unfortunately, there are various cons out there which they'll tell the person in Gaza, yes, I'll manage your campaign, I'll create a campaign, you will receive donations, and then I'm going to send you the money. And guess what? Unfortunately, sometimes they run away with the money. It has happened. So, of course, that's completely disheartening for the person living in Gaza who's, he's been conned by all the systems, including this one individual managing their campaign who might be sitting somewhere in the UK or whatever. But yeah, there are websites. We've recently come about fundsahope.com, which is actually a website owned by folks in Lebanon, and they allow for the Palestinians to create their own campaigns. So this way, at least, they eliminate that risk of being, screwed over by someone on the outside. They create their own campaigns. They can manage themselves, and then they can transfer that money to their own bank accounts, typically the Bank of Palestine bank accounts. So that way, they're more autonomous. Of course, there are people out there which are encouraging things like sending crypto and stuff like that, because that would also make them more autonomous. Of course, if people are educated on the subject of crypto, then by all means, take that route. If you have people in Gaza who are knowledgeable enough in crypto to be able to accept USDT, then sure, go ahead, and more power to them. So that's definitely, I would say, I'm not very knowledgeable myself in the crypto domain, but I'd say that I have seen that as being a beneficial thing of crypto, in that they're more able to get that money. But of course, the audience and those able or knowledgeable enough in crypto to be able to send aid in the form of crypto are maybe less, but hopefully they're going to be more and more in numbers in the future.
Inshallah. No, I hope that this definitely continues to grow, especially with how dire it is over there. And we obviously don't know when it's going to end, if it's going to end. So I think the more people kind of come together, donate in the various different means that they have, whatever they do have, hopefully it's able to alleviate at least a little bit of the suffering over there. And, for anyone just tuning in, this is the Muslim Street. This is your host, Hina Lotus. Wanted to just give a quick shout out to Lance Scurv and the Lance Scurv Show for doing all the technology and helping us out. Also wanted to give a big shout out to, Radio Watermelon, our special guests. Please follow us on the Muslim Street. We are on YouTube. We're on X. We're also on Facebook. And if you would ever like to write for a periodical, please visit www.themuslimstreet.com. Also looking at you, Radio Watermelon. If you have any writers, we'd love for you guys to submit any information so people can read about it if they're not, unfortunately watching the podcast, and they can get involved as well as volunteers, as donors, or even, just as supporters and listeners. I did want to move on to the next question that I had. Now that you guys have this amazing charitable organization, I'm sure you guys have kind of ran into some difficulties. What are some issues or conflicts or difficulties that you guys have like run into with this organization?
Can I start?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely.
Me personally, for now, we are quite established as organization that deals with verification. That's our pride and joy. But I think most of my problems come from people that says that we are scammers, even though we don't handle the money. We really don't handle the money. We, that is my main problem with this. Also with people scamming Palestinians, especially those that did that create a campaign, and just ran off with the money. That is the main problem for me. People who think that we are scammers, even though we don't handle the money.
You guys don't
And
touch the
that
money.
we never handle the money. We never.
Yeah,
It all goes straight to the Palestinians. I
of
hate
course.
anything that handles money. I hate that so much. Anything that
No,
deals
of
with
course.
money, I hate that so much.
And Jimmy, Benji, did you guys want to add on to that? What are like the biggest challenges that you have experienced and faced with this organization?
Yeah, I'll go next if it's okay with Benji. You know, the one that really gets me, the biggest challenge is that we're just not doing enough spaces. And not to say that we're not doing enough for them. It's just every space we've done, there's maybe 10 more requests of Palestinians wanting to get on the space. And every time you get through them, there's 20 more messages in our inbox that day requesting for, help. And then when you get through that, there's a lot more. I mean, you could do a space every day and you would still have a long list of people who still want to be platformed, who still need help, who still need to tell their story for the world to hear. So one of our challenges is that yes, we only do it twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, but the challenge is that we're just there, we just can't get everybody in a space at one time. And I think that's one that really keeps me up at night, because you just think about the ones that you just couldn't get in time on the platform, or you couldn't get them verified in time to get on their on the space, or even when they are scheduled to get on the space, they don't have the internet connection to get on there. So those are all different challenges, to where, like, Benji was saying, many have to walk a good distance, miles, to get internet connection to tell their story. Hopefully their phone doesn't die. Hopefully they have good internet connection. And hopefully they're just not in danger of a bomb or anything hitting them while they're trying to tell their story. Those are all the challenges that I hear pretty often, and it keeps me up at night, because again, even though we're doing a lot, I feel like we're just not doing enough, because again, there's just so many when you look at our inbox. I know Benji and I handle the messages that come in, and we try to get through them together, and every time you get through 20, there's probably 20 more that are coming in the next day. So it's just so many that need our assistance.
We are fully booked, by the way, to until January. My schedule,
Yeah.
because I do the scheduling, we are fully booked. By the way, another challenges is the internet connection. The Palestinian internet connection is like it's hard to like get them. That is one challenge that I'm the internet.
Yeah. No, I've listened in, and it breaks my heart because I've listened into a couple of spaces, and a lot of people, like, their internet connection is bad, or they're not understanding like how to navigate X, like, to be a speaker or something of that nature. And it just breaks my heart because I'm just like, hey, like, please, like, accept this speaker, or don't listen anonymously, or I wish their like internet connection was better, because you want to hear their stories and you want to understand where they're coming from and what necessities they need. And so I can only imagine. And Benji, if you wanted to kind of share what challenges you've kind of experienced with Radio Watermelon.
Well, maybe to add to what my colleagues were saying, I would say one of the biggest challenges we also have is, of course, we are all doing this, out of the goodness of our hearts, and of course, just to be helping the Palestinian cause and people in Gaza. But it is very time consuming. So a lot of it comes down to how do we manage our personal time with what we're doing for the cause. So it's a lot of, it's sacrifice. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is decisions that we have to make individually as to how much time we can allocate to this cause. I think most of us struggle with that. I mean, people are on vacation and they're doing what Rena's doing. I'm saying that because Rena's on vacation, and yet she's going in and having these video calls and talking to the Palestinians just to confirm that they are in Gaza. So, personally speaking, yes, the life, work, and Radio Watermelon balance is something I'm still struggling with. And as Jimmy said, also the spaces that we have, we're holding them 2 times a week thus far. And the main reason for that, in addition to the fact that, it's that whole life balance thing that I talked about, is we have to grow our audience. So that's why, of course, we're very thankful to be here on the Muslim street and, get the word out, and get people to know about Radio Watermelon and what we're doing for the people in Gaza. And hopefully, with a larger audience, then we can justify having the spaces that we hold more times per week, because it's not much value having a space, let's say, every single day, 7 days a week, if you're always getting the same 50 donors. At some point, those 50 donors will just be exhausted, and they will no longer, they're going to consume all their resources, and we're going to have to find other donors. So that's kind of the point where we're at, is we're really looking to grow our audience, get the word out, growing on other platforms as well. So kind of using our intellectual property or whatever we have on X, sharing that on other platforms just to grow our audience there. And ultimately, we're looking to grow the audience just to grow the donations that are going to the Palestinians. That's the main objective. So yeah, that's really the struggle right now, is growing our spaces, growing our audience.
Of
That is
course.
true.
Go ahead. No, I apologize, Rena. Please go ahead.
It is true that we do need to expand our audience, because if we have only Palestinians in the space and there's no donors, there's no point of it. We need donors. That's why we are. The reason why we are doing it twice weekly is because it takes preparation to do the spaces. To schedule it. It takes. That's, I don't know. Yeah, so please, if you are a donor, if you want to donate to Palestinians, straight to Palestinians, come and join us, come and listen to our spaces.
Of course.
I'd also say, with the work that we've been doing and the recognition that we're getting across the platform on X, there are people who are doing similar things to us, maybe smaller and not as structured as we are, who are reaching out to us and looking to collaborate, or looking how we can kind of like join forces and unite and kind of help a larger number of Palestinians. So that's one positive thing, I would say. This is something that's kind of a recognition that what we're doing is successful. At the same time, just to establish those connections and partnerships with these other people, other good Samaritans doing what we're doing, that in itself takes time. So we have to put aside some time to sit down and chat with these other teams and see how we can work together and what kind of synergies we can have and what kind of information we can share. But again, I think it's a positive thing that others are recognizing the positive things that we're doing, and they're reaching out to us, seeing how they can help. So it's a good thing.
Thank you so much, Benji. For anyone just tuning in, this is the Muslim Street. We have our weekly podcast on Sunday nights at 7:30 Eastern time. Please tune in. You can follow us on X. You can follow us on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube. We do go live on all three of those platforms. For anyone that's not able to watch it live, they are recorded as well. And then we have our special guest today. It's at Radio Watermelon on X. Please go to X. Please follow them. If you're able to, please donate. Please listen to their spaces if you can. And, with Ramadan actually around the corner, if you're looking for a place to donate, I think Radio Watermelon would be, I would 100% recommend it. I think it would be a very charitable organization to get involved with. And, that being said, I had a big question for the Radio Watermelon, or not the Radio Watermelon. We're the Muslim Street. You guys are Radio Watermelon. But I did have a big question for you guys. So now that you guys have been doing this for quite a while, what are your future, like, what's your future vision? What future goals do you have for Radio Watermelon as it's growing?
Um, this,
Okay, Jimmy, you
yeah,
can.
we've never discussed it, but I just see it of, and I think Benji even touched on this a little bit, is seeing other people create other initiatives similar to it, and then helping the Palestinians in the same way we're doing it, where the money's going directly to them. I hope to see a time where you've got 10 other organizations like this, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all helping Palestinians. They're all helping them funds, and not even just on X. I mean, on other platforms as well, to make sure that they're doing their best. Again, I'll say this: we sat around as friends, tweeting about Palestine, tweeting about the genocide, and we were in these groups, and then we would get together on X, and we said the same thing that I think you might have even said earlier, is that we feel hopeless, we feel like we can't do much, and we felt like that before. Here comes these Palestinians asking for help, and we're like, community. So I hope that if anybody's listening, I hope they know that if there's a pulse, there's a way, and you can get together with some friends who, if you're very passionate about Palestine, and not even just Palestine, but anybody that's oppressed, any nation or people that are oppressed, you can do this. There's no special technique to any of this. It's getting together, having a vision, and doing the good work to help the people that need it the most. And I hope more people create what we're doing, and I hope they even come to us and ask for our help, and I hope they join us too as well. Because again, the bigger the merrier for us, because it's all helping the Palestinians more than anything.
Yeah, and I don't mind if anybody wanna know how I do verification. I don't mind giving you tutorials. I normally do it on Discord, because Discord it's easier to organize. So if anybody wanna learn how I do things, please message me, and I'll teach you how to do it.
I wanted to kind of make one thing, just make one point, because I know Rena's mentioned many times about the and Benji have made comments about how we do the verification or the interview. The reason we do that is because if we're going to put a space with 50, 60, sometimes 70 people, and we're going to ask for them to donate, well, we better get it right to make sure that they're in Gaza, because we've heard like that in other spaces, and some scamming that goes on and still goes on. And we realize that we're going to put our name behind Radio Watermelon, but the people from Gaza that come on Radio Watermelon, we better get it right by making sure they're in Gaza, so we can vouch really hard for people to them. So doing the verification process that Rena mentioned with many people on her team, sister Vandal, again, they do this because once they're verified in Gaza, that we're not verifying them again. We're not putting them through again. One time, hopefully put the seal, and then guess what? Now, if they're in other space, people will know that, okay, you're credible because Radio Watermelon does their process this way. And guess what? They've shared it. We believe in it. So guess what? We believe that you're in Gaza, or we know that you're in Gaza. So I just want to make that clear, that the verification process is done to make donors and people feel good that, hey, they are in Gaza, 100% have been verified they're in Gaza, and they need your help more than anything.
Yeah, and then also we have that seal thing going on right now. I think Benji and Nadir started doing that. Whenever we verified somebody, they put a seal on it, on that person's I think it's picture, I think.
Yeah.
And then it feed it
What
out.
does the
And
seal look like? What does the
Um,
seal look like?
Nadir created a seal. It's like a green seal, and
It
then
looks.
just put it
It
on the
actually
picture.
looks like a cap of like a soda bottle, an old style soda bottle, or even a beer bottle cap. It has that look to it. It's green, of course, green, white, and some reds to represent the colors of the Palestinian flag. And yeah, we apply that seal. It's like the seals you might have for other certifications of ISO 9001 and stuff like that. And funny enough, I mean, people from Gaza will request it. Like they'll say, "Hey, I've been verified. Can I have that seal?" And we have a backlog actually that I have to go through, so I'm kind of behind schedule on that. So coming back to that whole managing work life and Radio Watermelon balance, there's a little backlog that I have to get to in terms of applying the seal with Nader, my colleague. But Hina, to go back also to your question with regards to also what does the future hold for Radio Watermelon. So, like from the get-go, it was kind of clear to us that we were going to focus on the people in Gaza, right? Because we could have also decided to take on people in the West Bank, for example, because, I mean, yes, they are better off, but they're still going through a 76, 77-year occupation. So it's not exactly perfect in the West Bank either. But right now we figure, you know what? We have like 2.2 million people living under siege, going through a genocide. We have our hands full with just the folks from Gaza. And even though it's not like, we know the demographics, right? So 2.2 million, half of them are children, and whatever adults are remaining, well, what percentage of those adults are actually on X? You can peg a number on that, and we know that we can go on for years and years at the pace that we're going at. We have our work cut out for us. But given what the Zionist entity has also been doing, invading and attacking and occupying neighboring countries, Syria, Lebanon, and so on, we figured, hey, you know what? At some point, we might decide maybe we want to expand Radio Watermelon to also have people from, let's say, Lebanon or parts of Syria also
Mina,
come on, because they also need help. So we haven't discussed it fully, but you can see that that could be something that would be in the works in the future. Who knows?
the Mina area.
Great.
Got it. Thank you. And then the last question that I had for everyone, and I think it's something that we all collectively think about when we are listening about Palestine, supporting Palestine, giving, the solidarity to Palestine. If there are people who are listening who want to help Gaza, but don't know where to start, what to do, how would you advise them to go about it, whether it's with Radio Watermelon or even outside of that? What advice would you give those individuals that are listening in?
I'll take a step. I'll go first. Um, the way I live my life is that if I'm ever in that position, I would hope to God, one, people would hear me and listen to me and hear my story. I would first want to be comforted with someone being there for me, and not necessarily physically, but on a space. I mean, with total strangers, that's what they're resorting to. Like they have nowhere else to go and talk to. They can't just call a relative or a friend and say, "I need you to talk to me." Like we hear the cries, the screaming, the babies in the background, the 14-year-old who's constantly trying to raise his family now because his parents are dead. I mean, I would hope to God that someone would say, it's humanity first. Let's help them. If I'm ever in that position, I hope to God that if I ask for help, somebody would say, let's help them. Okay. Put aside their race, their religion. It's humanity first for everybody. And honestly, that's really where, to me, it's home for me. And you never know when your life's going to change. These folks were living under a siege, which was not any good anyway. But the fact is that they can't even leave to escape a genocide. Again, their world has been turned upside down. Many times we'll hear the stories of, I was going to school and now I'm just trying to survive. I have a business, now I'm just trying to survive. I was doing this, now I'm trying to survive. It's heart-wrenching to hear this, but I would hope that anybody out there just think about it for a second, that you're put in this position ever, and I hope that you don't. I would hope that you would hope that people out there, that you can reach your arm, they would actually grab it and want to help you, because that's all we're asking for, to help them. That's what I gotta say.
I mean,
Benji, Rena. Oh, Rena, go ahead.
I mean, like what we did, right? It's just a bunch of friends in a group chat coming together to do this. So if you want to do something, find your tribe. Like I have found my tribe, you know. So yeah, that's what I would advise people. Just find your tribe and then start doing something, anything. Like I used to do this. I've been doing this for like over a decade, and I did it before too, with a group of friends. We came together to form like an organization, right? So just do it. Just do it. Just start doing it. you will find your tribe.
I
And
think,
Benji,
yeah, I think that's very important what Rena mentioned. To be honest, I mean, this is one thing that's keeping me going with this is the fact that I'm not doing this by myself. I am doing it with a group of people, and I find great comfort in that. Had I been, I mean, I was by myself for the longest time, and I wasn't as productive as I am with this group of people in Radio Watermelon. So definitely find company. I think is it's absolutely beneficial to get things going. So do things in a group as best as you can. If you don't have a group, don't know where to find a group, reach out to Radio Watermelon, and we will be your group. We're more than happy to work with other people as well, of course. With regards also to what people can do, I mean, uh, Jimmy touched up on this. Is listen to their stories. Go on to spaces, share their reels, their videos, their shorts, whatever they're producing. Share their stories. If they're on spaces live speaking, go and hear them out. Ask them questions. Interact with them. They mention themselves. Like there are numerous occasions where the speakers from Gaza have just thanked us for simply uh, allowing them to speak and hearing their voices. They're just for them it's therapy. So hear their voices, hear what they have to say. If you have profiles of theirs or they have campaigns, share their campaigns, spread the words that these people need help. If it so happens to be that people are verified by Radio Watermelon, then so be it. You have that certainty that they're definitely there living under the bombs. And donate, 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 because ultimately, um, unless you have access to politicians that you can get the politicians to change their mind and help in any way, so unless you can influence politically speaking, I think the best thing you can do is actually send aid, financial aid, to those who are in need. And there's 2.2 million people. You have enough choice of people that need help in Gaza. So yes, if you can, please do donate.
thank you so much, Benji. And, I just wanted to put in my closing thoughts. With the Muslim street, we recognize that we're an ummah. And as an ummah, I think that we see, in various different aspects of the world, there's oppression, there's suffering, there's people who are being marginalized, people who are being oppressed. And so, within the context of the Ummah, it is a facet of our faith to put ourselves out there and fight for social justice, to advocate for those who are hurting, to advocate for those who are suffering. And so, I think as an Ummah, we have to collectively come together and help one another in regards to what we're going through. Right now, Gaza is going through, I would say, probably, I wouldn't even say probably one of the worst genocide that we have seen live, right? We see all the images, we see what's going on over there. To talk about it, to feel bad, to hold a lot of emotions is one thing, but if we are given the avenues and the opportunities to help those who suffer, I think it's a religious obligation in a way to take it. And if you're not doing it through Radio Watermelon, if you're not doing it through the Muslim Street, please do it in some capacity, because as an ummah, we owe it to one another, right? Inshallah, I am never in, that position. Inshallah, everyone that's on this, episode is not in that position. But where would we be if hypothetically we ended up in that situation? How could we ask for help when we didn't advocate and help those who are suffering at this very moment? So, please take that into account for anyone that's tuning in at the very last second. I just wanted to say my name is Hina Lotus. I am from the Muslim Street. Please follow us. We are on X, we are on Facebook, we are also on YouTube. We have a podcast episode every Sunday night at 7:30. Wanted to give a huge shout out to Lance Skur for helping us with, producing this and, doing everything that he does. He's actually in Ghana. I think it's in the middle of the night over there. So his sacrifices mean so much to us. Shout out to, my co-host Malika Aziz for giving us this platform. If anyone's interested in writing for a periodical, also again, looking at you guys, Radio Watermelon, please, let us know. Please go to www.themuslimstreet.com. We have amazing articles. I've written some, Malik has written some, talking about all aspects of the Muslim street, so, please reach out to us. And I also wanted to close with all three of you. If you have any shameless shout outs, if you have any places people can follow you, get in touch with you, let them know your social media, your email address, whatever you feel comfortable with. Rena, you can go first.
Uh, I want to give a special shout out to my verification team, Mr. Vandal, who is my fiance, by the way. So we work together. And Sister D, she's my rock. I swear to God, without her, I would be bawling my eyes out every single time. But she's always there for me. Every time I ask her to come, Sister D, I need to verify somebody, she would come. I swear to God, she's a godsend. And special shout out to Brother Nadir, who did all the graphics. Lacey, who would host the Radio Watermelon whenever like Jimmy or Benji can't do it, so she would take the the reign. um, then to all our followers, supporters, please keep donating, keep sharing all the GoFundMe's that we have verified. Um, you can follow me at Miss Rina Idrus on Twitter. I don't normally use. I don't use Facebook and Instagram anymore. I just. But I have an account, but I'm mostly on Twitter right now.
Thank you, Rena.
Thank you for having
Benji.
me. By the way, thank you for having me. You're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You are so beautiful as well. And I apologize, everyone. I said you were in Malaysia. You were recently vacationing in Malaysia to visit family, but you're in the Maldives. Is that correct?
Yes, I
Okay.
come home every 5 years. I live in the Maldives. I've been in the Maldives for the past 16 years. It's a beautiful country. It's also pro-Palestine, like Malaysia. Okay.
No, thank you so much. And I definitely need to vacation there sometime. So now I have a contact.
Yes.
And then Benji, any shout outs if you want to give your social media, email addresses, anything?
Thank you, Hina, and thank you very much to the Muslim Streets for this opportunity. Well, no, I mean, as Sister Rina said, just a shout out to the entire Radio Watermelon team and all our supporters, all our donors. It's always nice to have and see familiar faces, episode after episode. I hope that at some points there are so many people there that I no longer recognize the profile pictures of the people sitting in the audience, just because there's so many of them to remember. But for now, I recognize a lot of them, and I thank all our supporters and our donors, and of course all the people of Gaza who take, as difficult as it is, they have to take that time, take that trek over to a stable internet connection just to get on our spaces and get some help. So I think the people of Gaza have actually taught us humanity, to be honest. So I'm always very grateful of having them on our spaces, just because, yeah, it just reminds us that we're human, and that's what we should be doing. We should be caring for each other and helping each other. You can try to find me on X. Of course, I'm heavily censored, so you can try to. But the best way is probably reaching out or joining the Radio Watermelon spaces, and you'll see me sitting up there in the panel as a Benjamin Netanyahu parody account. And thanks once again, Hina and the team. Thank you.
Of course. And do you want to give your handle name for X? You don't have to, by the way. You're not obligated, but I'm sure people want to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, I have
Netanyahu's up to. So.
Yeah, I do have a search ban, so I can. I mean, the handle is B Netanyahu, but the Yahoo is spelled as in the search engine, YAHOO. So B Netanyahu. Again, I have a search ban on me, so there's a good chance that you enter that in and it'll tell you could not find the person, but I actually do exist. So that's why I'm not necessarily very keen on giving it. Yeah. There's a search ban. They're trying to censor pro-Palestinians in any shape or form. So I'm tired of complaining about it, but it is what it is. And so you'll check me out on Radio Watermelon Spaces, inshallah.
Please find him. His account is hilarious. I think it's way more informational than Benjamin Netanyahu's actual real account. I think that Benji's account is definitely more educational, way more accurate. And if you need a laugh, that's where you need to go. And Jimmy, any shout outs? Where can people find you, contact you? It's optional, of course, but I'm sure people would love to reach out to you and follow you if possible.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. It's been wonderful to have us on. If you follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok, it's Jimmy J for the win is my handle. It's the number 4. Pull it out, Jimmy for the win, and you'll come across my account. Huge shout out to everyone with Radio Watermelon. I try to get everyone in this, but they don't get enough praise for this. Rena doing the back office work between stations, having to handle all these requests coming in Discord and verifying them. God bless her for that. Also, her being on the stage, constantly posting someone in the comments, doing it at 4:00 in the morning. Everyone else is awake and she's trying to stay awake. Big shout out to Nadir for the graphics. He does a great job, exceptional job on that. Shout out to AC for constantly always in when we need her to do the space on a weekday when we're at work or we are family. Big shout out to Sister Mr. Bandel, Mona that step in for constantly the translation. When we do the spaces, we do it in Arabic and English. Join and let's tell you something. I've seen them go 5 hours, 6 hours, and they're still translating. I'm just telling you that a lot of work. I have to hear these stories and continue to translate. And I've seen even Vandal himself, or Benji himself, or even Sister Dina herself, constantly do it all alone because they were the only ones there. So big shout out to them as well. Again, this is not an easy operation because we want to give back, want to give opinions, and it's humanity first more than anything. So wonderful podcast, Hina, by all means. Thank you to your producers, everybody else do. We look forward to this again, hopefully, and look again. Find me, Jimmy J, for the win, and I'm always talking about Palestine, humanity first more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Huge shout out to Radio Watermelon. I'm humbled that they took the time to join us tonight. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to the Muslim Street. Please reach out to Radio Watermelon. If you guys want to follow me or have any questions or want to be on a future podcast, my handle is at Intrepid Lotus. I go by Hina Lotus, but it's Intrepid Lotus. It's spelled INTREPIDLOTUS. But that being said, salam everyone to listening in. And then inshallah, we'd love to have you guys on again. Radio Watermelon, thank you so much. I'm humbled to have your organization on here. Thank you for all your hard work, your energy, your sacrifices. Thank you for helping people directly in Gaza. And as you guys continue to grow and build and, inshallah, have minimal challenges going forward, we'd love to have you guys back on to see where you guys are at, who you've helped, and to see how else we can, help you guys and benefit you guys. Thank you so much, and salam, everyone. Good night.
Free Palestine, okay? Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.